and I taught school there for a couple of years. And Marine Corps War College was for officers, lieutenant colonels, and colonels who were destined for command or high staff duty. And it was an 8-month, very intensive 8-month course. And we had finished one course, the 8 months, and in the summertime we taught reserve officers. We had 2- and 3-week classes, and then we'd start our next class, which is a full class. And I had a desk up on the 2nd floor of Ellis Hall, which was our classroom building. And after this class was finished, I walked up and I sat down, and I could look out my window and I could look at the Potomac River as it ran by. And I sat there and I looked. It was in the spring, and all the dogwoods were in bloom. It was a beautiful day. So I looked out the river, and here came a boat, small boat. There were 2 men fishing. They were casting into the reeds, and one of them caught a bass. And I thought, by golly, there's more to this world than what I'm doing now. And so I retired. So that was my career in the Marine Corps.
I realized all the stories you told me before this, and I guess what's your view on your service? It's much more your duty to serve. It's called upon you to serve for your country. I don't know how to really ask.
Why did I do that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to really.
Why did I join the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
For the service?
Yeah, I mean.
That's what young men did then.
It was just instinctual.
So that's what my friends did, and that's what I thought we should do. But another thing, everybody, and I say this sort of off the record, but everybody thinks, oh my gosh, you were in the service, weren't you, during the war? I said, yeah, and that's all wonderful. But there were a lot of other people who did fine things who supported the war effort. How about all the young ladies who went into factories and worked hard, as mechanics and technicians and those sorts of things? How about the people who volunteered in the hospitals to take care of the wounded when there were not enough nurses? How about the young ladies who became nurses, and joined the services and served on the front lines in many cases? But we had a Women's Air Corps. They weren't accredited by the services, but they transferred the airplanes back and forth between the various theaters in the United States. So, there were a lot of other people who did some damn good things, and I'm not sure that they get the credit that they should. So I'm going to give them the credit right now.
Can I ask you, you were on Okinawa. Would you describe, did you land on the beach with the first waves of Marines, or were you in some other position?
No, I was in the infantry, but the landing on Okinawa was on Valentine's Day, and the beach was undefended. So it was, just a simple landing.
So, did you stay then on Okinawa for the whole operation on Okinawa?
I did.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? Because I don't think these
If you're comfortable
students
with
know how difficult Okinawa was, or why there was so much Japanese resistance.
Well, there's always Japanese resistance, no matter where it might have been, even large and small units. But Okinawa was kind of like not a pork chop, but the main island was about like this, and then there was a little peninsula that went off this way. And we landed on the beaches over here, and our job was to go off and take care of the Japanese forces on this little peninsula over here. The Army landed, and they went down south on the main island. When we had finished here, we came down and joined the rest of the forces, and about the middle of the island we ran into the Japanese Shuri line, which was an old castle up in the hills, and it was heavily fortified. And our attack and the Army's attack was stymied there. And we recommended that we go around and make an amphibious landing behind the Japanese, where they were heavily fortified, and we were denied that. So it was just a head-on contest just to keep going. We got down to Nari, I guess was the capital, and most of the Japanese were dead by then. And, what they did was they gave all the male citizens there, but the Japanese, Okinawa was the Japanese territory. They gave most of the male citizens there 2 hand grenades. And with these hand grenades, they were supposed to throw one of them at us, and the other one they were supposed to kill themselves with, so they wouldn't be captured. So that was sort of the mentality that you ran into, and that sort of thing. And also, the Japanese just wouldn't surrender. They, it was very seldom that you ever got a Japanese prisoner. And they would either fight until they were dead, or they would kill themselves. And I'll digress for a minute, and I'll tell you a funny story. On Okinawa, we had dug in one evening for the night. We were in an area where there were a lot of big rocks, huge boulders like this, and the Japanese were the other side of that. Well, just before dusk, it looked like a Japanese soldier had taken off all his clothes, and he was just wearing his little 1,000-stitch scarf. Came running towards our lines, and of course everybody was going to shoot him and kill him. I said, no, just wait. Let's see what he's going to do. He can't hurt us anything. He doesn't have a weapon or anything else. And the Japanese were also shooting at him. So he was hitting the leg, and he kind of wiggled a little bit and kept running towards our lines. And then he was shot pretty bad. It knocked him down, and he crawled up behind some rocks, and we didn't see him again for, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. Then suddenly he popped out from behind some rocks and ran into our lines real quick. I said, hot dogs, we got a prisoner. So I called up the battalion commander, and I said, hey, we got a Japanese prisoner down here. Yeah, boy, we got one. So he says, good for you boys, send him up. And so I said, well, he's pretty well beat up. He's been shot a couple of times. He said, well, send him on down to the battalion aid station, and we'll get some interpreters down there, and we'll talk to him. So I said, okay. So we sent him down. And everybody was just delighted about the Japanese prisoner we had. So the next morning, an Army sergeant came trudging up to our positions there, and he says, are you the guys that captured that Japanese prisoner? We said, yep, it was us. He said, well, let me tell you, we got down there and we started questioning, and he's a Korean. He said the Japanese, you know, they occupied Korea, and they gathered up a bunch of these husky Koreans, and they made them into labor organizations, and they carry ammunition, and they bring up water and all that stuff. So we got a Korean. And I said, you know, why did he leave? What the hell was wrong with him anyway? Wasn't he getting along? And he said, no, he said, y'all had backed the Japanese up about as far as they could go, and they were talking about, you know, not surrendering, and they were going to kill themselves, and he was afraid they were going to kill him too.